When Arada wakes up, he finds himself groping his irritated cousin Hijri, and despite his best effort to kill the situation, Hijri decides to punish him. Hijri continues to be surprisingly calm during breakfast, and Arada is perplexed by her behavior, even referring to a drawing she did as a child, much to her embarrassment. After that, the two of them walked to their school when Arada suddenly noticed the sun has turned black. While Idris goes on about his business as usual, the befolded Arada chooses to ignore the sight of an unknown girl in the school uniform, approaching them and demanding that he awakens or she eliminates him, and suddenly vanishes before he could respond. Arada ponders on this mysterious girl's warning during class. Idris meets Arada on the roof, and Arada asks her if the sun has always been black, which she confirms. Ryuji then goes on to saying that this has always been the case because this is the world he desires. She also offers to give in to his desires if he chooses to stay with her. Suddenly, Arada recalls Hidri vanishing and pleading with him to remember her, and as a result, he suspected this Hidri of being a forger, which she denies. The mysterious girl from the morning fires a bullet at Hidri, but she easily deflects the ambush with a barrier. Hidri recognizes the girl as a mage, while Arada recognizes her due to her large bust, which the girl introduced herself as Lilith assuming in an embarrassing manner. Following that, Hidri reversed her spell, revealing the entire city to be in ruins. Lilith then explains that a disaster 3 days ago occurred, destroying their own city, prompting Arada to recall. As the city gets destroyed and people vanish, Hidri gives Arada a grimoire and asks that his wish be granted in order to save him, much to Arada's surprise. Hidri, on the other hand, simply gives him instruction before kissing him and vanishes. Harada then finds himself alone in an empty world, refusing to accept his fate, and then demands that the grimoire turns the world to normal, and the grimoire begins to work. Lilith explains she was sent from her school to investigate the breakdown phenomenon, only to find the town was unaffected, after Harada realizes that his wish to the grimoire was the cause. The grimoire then reveals that she was able to recreate the world with ease despite Lilith's warning that such magic is dangerous, and as a result gave Harada two options: surrender his grimoire and his memories in exchange for peace, or be killed instead. Harada, on the other hand, wonders if Ijiri will stay alive, which the grimoire confirms because she can project her image. When Harada discovers this information, he opted for a third option rather than surrendering or dying. Arada then arrives at the Royal Blabius Academy's entrance sometime later, where Lilith greets him. Though she's taken back by the situation, using the grimoire he possesses, Arada came up with a decision and decides to become a mage to surprise Lilith. While Lilith doubts Arada's ability to become one, he declares he will, despite the circumstances. Despite the fact that they are the same age, Arada confirms that Lilith is a teacher as they walk to class. After that, Lilith introduced Arata to the class as a transfer student, before another student, Selena, starts asking him personal questions, which he properly answered. Selena, on the other hand, inquires whether he was able to perform word reconstruction, a feat only a demon lord is capable of, which he answered. The whole class becomes enthralled by the appearance of the candidate that Arada inevitably confirms. Selena later spreads the word about Arada's demon lord magic around the academy, despite Lily's protest. Master Biblius is amused by the situation in the headmaster's office. Nonetheless, Arada is welcomed to the academy by the headmaster, who explains that Biblia is a secret organization that teaches mages and assigns missions. Although the headmaster is unsure, Arada inquires if he will be able to save Hijri if he becomes a magus, and then asks Lilith if there is any shortcut, which she denies. Then Master Biblius suggests that he meets and dominates the Trinity 7, the Academy's 7 expert female mages, and aside from that, Lilith is also one of them. After the meeting, Lilith advises Arada not to take the headmaster's words seriously. Following that, he noticed someone hiding in the ceiling who introduced herself as Levi Kazuma, a ninja who also happens to be a mage, and also a member of the Trinity 7 according to Lilith. When Mirayuna and Akira Fudo, two other members who happens to be on their way to a mission, then Arada inquired about the other mages. Arada then observes that the majority of the mages are female, which Levi explains it to be as a result of magic emphasis on emotion, and as a result, girls are more naturally drawn to magic. Though Lilith warns that they must also control their desires. When Arada and Levi begins to tease Lilith in an inappropriate manner, the embarrassed teacher punishes Arada before leaving. To Arada's surprise, Levi was observed that Lilith has become more expressive since meeting him. Arada spends the night in his room, pondering about the whereabouts of his grimoire, which suddenly appears around his neck and advises him to take a bath. Following the grimoire's instruction, Arada enters the boy bathhouse only to find a naked girl who resembles Hijiri and doesn't mind his presence. Arada eventually leaves before running to Lilith, and despite his best effort to appear unconcerned, Arada tries to explain to Lilith that he saw Hijiri in the bath, who Lilith identifies as Erin Kanazuki, another member of the Trinity. When Lilith realizes the situation, she chastises Erin while Arada discusses Erin's resemblance to Hijri with the grimoire. Before Lilith reminds him that he is without paint, he suspects that Erin and the Trinity 7 will be important to him in the future. Erin stares at an uneasy Arada during Lilith's class. Lilith is also unsure about the situation, so Arada questions her about it. When Arada tries to eat in the cafeteria, Erin simply observes him. Erin then follows Arada through the corridors until she tries to enter the restroom with him, much to his surprise. Following that, he inquires why she has been following him too much, which Erin responded that she's following the Demon Lord candidate as his partner before leaving. Arada is surprised to find Lilith, Selena, and Levi in his room later. Selena and Levi then explains why they want to gather information, while Lilith says she's there to supervise them. Arada requests that they teach him magic after Selena's interview, which Lily gladly accepts. Selena and Levi, on the other hand, observes that she agrees to any kind of educational situation, fantasizing about an erotic scene between him and Lilith. Despite that, Arata interrogates Lilith about his grimoire, which she reveals to be the As2 manuscript, a legendary grimoire containing knowledge from another world. Then goes on to explain Terra, a concept that each mage investigates in the archive of the 7 deadly sins. However, a blackout occurs unexpectedly. While the As2 manuscript provides light, the group finds themselves stuck inside a barrier despite knowing how to get out. As2 decides to sleep while the rest of the group searches for the exit. And as a result, Arada tries to break down the door with a chair but fails miserably, much to the girl's surprise. However, due to the principle of magic, they quickly realize its intention to act before thinking. The group then discusses the culprit's motivation, which is to determine Arada's strength. Despite the fact he already knows who the perpetrator is, he decides to play along. Outside, Erin and another person look down from on top of the roof at the situation. The group searches the room for a way out but finds no clue to helping them escape. Despite Arada's suggestion that they rest, Selena and Levi complain about the lack of a bathroom. Unfortunately, they discover that Lilith urgently needs a bathroom before the other girls do. With no other option, Arada consults Astil to discover that the grimoire is half asleep, and as a result, Arada and Levi and Selena decide to use the situation to deceive the grimoire into thinking they found the situation, causing Astil to reveal the source under the bed inevitably. The barrier vanishes after the girls destroys the magical source beneath the bed, allowing them to escape to the bathroom. The Astil manuscript is amused by Arada's rules and eagerly awaits his choice of Terma, which Arada is unfamiliar with the concept of a Terma. Erin then arrives to explain that a Terma is a lifelong research project that allows mages to use magic. Arada deduced from her timing that she was the one who erected the barrier, which Erin admits. Despite her action, Arada said he's not mad because he saw the girl's desperate need to urinate, but is perplexed when Erin agrees to do the same due to a similar resemblance to Hijiri before becoming acquainted with her. Arada becomes unstable when interacting with Erin according to the As2 manuscript. As the two become friends, Arada inquires about Erin's decision to lock his room. Erin responds much to his surprise that he is the Demon Lord candidate as stated by the headmaster before Master Biblia appears crashing through a window, and as a result, the two choose to ignore the headmaster and carry on their conversation somewhere else, much to the Biblia's surprise. Arada and Lilith continues their investigation of Erin in the infirmary. Master Biblia stated that if the Demon Lord candidate was placed in a stressful situation, another breakdown phenomenon will occur, according to Erin. Arada makes the decision to punish the headmaster, but Lilith has already carried out the punishment. Meanwhile, inside the blazing furnace, a bound headmaster is terrified. While Lilith is intrigued by the breakdown phenomenon, Erin chooses to explain it by transforming into Amigos mode and causing Erin's magic to become unstable after removing the seals on his magic from his As2 manuscripts, and a breakdown phenomenon occurs as a result. But Erin is adherent about continuing the experiment for the sake of her research. She didn't expect the effects to be as strong as they were. Selena meets with Levi, who informs her that a breakdown phenomenon is taking place outside of the academy. Masabibia finds Erin antics amusing, but she cannot allow the school to close. As Arada's magic becomes increasingly unstable, Lily decides to intervene, but Erin refuses to let her regardless of the outcome. However, after completing their most recent mission, Akio and Mira appears out of nowhere. Mira uses her Superbia archive magic to neutralize the breakdown phenomenon, while also paralyzing Erin and Lily's movement, giving Akio the opportunity to eradicate Arada. And before dealing the final strike, Akio apologizes to Arada. That's all for today, so make sure to like, subscribe and turn on the notifications so you can watch more anime videos just like this.